I work for Exotico, so I'm super excited for you guys to be here today. We're going to start right away just jumping into one of my favorite cocktails. It's called the Cantarito. This is a cocktail that we always serve when we're out in the fields. After we've been out in the agave fields for the long day. It's a very popular traditional cocktail out in Mexico. Can everybody hear me okay? How about now? Better? Okay, I'll yell a little bit. So let me know if you can't hear me. I'll kind of pay attention. So the Cantarito is a traditional cocktail that's very popular down in Mexico. Hasn't made its way all the way up to the United States. Quite as popular. It's kind of like a Paloma punch. And it's always something that we serve when we are in the agave fields after we've been out all day. It's nice and hot. It's very, very refreshing. All the weather we've had up until this last day or so, 90-some degree days, this is perfect. So we're going to go ahead and get started. On the Cantarito, I gave you two options. Either a single cocktail, which is a large cocktail, or a batch cocktail. I'm making the batch cocktail because we're starting to be able to have social distancing parties. And it's really kind of fun and easy to do. So I always start with my non-alcoholic ingredients first. Main reason, single cocktail, large cocktail, if you mess up, it's much easier to dump a bunch of juice and start over than to jump a bunch of tequila and start over. It hurts a little bit less. So we're going to start, and I'm going to go ahead and do the batch recipe that I gave you. So we're starting out with 16 ounces of orange juice. Fresh squeezed orange juice is best as long as it's fresh, not canned. Makes the best cocktail you can do, kind of whatever works best for you. The brands I like to use are the Simply line because it just is mostly juice and nothing great. So it's 16 ounces is equivalent to 2 cups. So we do 2 cups of orange juice. You have a big, large container of however you're going to serve everything. 2 cups of orange juice. 1 cup of ruby red grapefruit juice. This is a super easy recipe and really fun. I've made them when I fresh squeeze all of the juices, and then I spend the whole night in the kitchen fresh squeezing cocktail. It's squeezing juice and never actually getting able to enjoy the cocktails. So, and then we go to 6 ounces of fresh lime juice, which is 3/4 cup. And if you're doing kind of like I am, lime juice, like 100% lime juice, not like those little squeezy limes, because those have a little bit of some chemicals in them, so you'll taste it. If you use it, it's fine too. You just want to try to use 100% lime juice. So once you've got all your juice in there, I like to stir it up really quick. Then move on to my tequila. I won't turn my head. I'll try to look straight ahead, and I'll talk a little slower. Sorry. So we're moving on to our Exotico tequila. We've got Exotico, and I'm using the Blanco tequila. It's 100% agave. And one of the nice things about Exotico is that it's 4th generation. So this is a family-owned and operated company, which is really cool. Rodolfo is our master distiller. Paul, his son, is a distiller, master distiller. He runs the distillery. And then Grace, his daughter, is also a master distiller. And she kind of does all the sales here in the United States. The other really cool thing is that Rodolfo learned from his great-grandfather. So kind of been doing this, his father, his grandfather, his uncles, everyone in his family kind of does this. So we own 90% of our own fields, and they're in the lowlands of the highlands of Jalisco. Okay. Can you hear me a little bit better now, everybody? Thumbs up. So.
Can you please repeat like how many ounces for each? Because we did not juice everything up for, like ahead of time. So.
Okay. Are you doing the single cocktail or are you doing the big batch?
The big batch.
So if you're doing the orange juice, it's 16 ounces, which is 2 cups of orange juice.
Yep.
Grapefruit juice is 1 cup.
Yep.
And then the lime juice is 3/4 cup.
Got it. Thank you.
You are welcome. Okay. Am I sounding better? I need to look like right at you and kind of, is that better, everybody? Okay. All right. So now I'm going to pour in the tequila. I hope I haven't done it. Nope. 2 cups of tequila. The recipe calls for Blanco tequila, or you can use Reposado as well. I kind of gave you the choice because the next recipe uses reposado, and I wanted you to be able to use the same tequila, not have to buy 2 bottles if you didn't want to. In my house, it never goes to waste, but I totally understand. So 2 cups of Exotico tequila. Like I said, 100% agave. This is a very affordable, great tequila. I've sold just about every tequila that's out there, and tequila is kind of my passion. So this is a very affordable, very reasonable, true traditional Mexican tequila. Okay. All right, is everyone kind of caught up where we need to be? And everybody, yeah? Thumbs up. Okay. Then we're going to move on to squirt. Any type of grapefruit soda, squirt, fresca. There's Jarritos, which is a good Mexican tequila as well, or I'm sorry, Mexican grapefruit soda. And then we're going to 32 ounces. Actually, before we get to that, salt. You put a little bit of salt in there. It's kind of fun and nice. It's 2 teaspoons of rough sea salt. I'm using pink Himalayan salt just because that's what I have around, and I like it. Salt tastes pretty similar, but you can do teaspoons. I'm just grinding it up.
Can you say how much again? That you cut out.
2 teaspoons. 2 teaspoons. If you're making the big batch. If you're making the not big batch, then it's like a dash. Otherwise, it'll be a little salty.
I'm working on my limes.
I know. Like I said, if you do this, if this is something, it's one of my favorite recipes. If you do it often, it starts to be cheaters and using pre-made fresh juices, because otherwise you're tired and you don't get to enjoy as much. So once you have all your juices and your tequilas and your salt, then you're going to add your squirt. And then we're going to do, and it's 32 ounces. So that's about 4 cans or about half of a 2 liter. And then you just dump it in slowly or you'll have bubbles. This is a recipe I make for a lot of the large events that we do. So I do it, 2 bottles of Exotico at a time. It's nice and refreshing, and it's great something to have out on the patio on a porch. All right, so once you have your soda in there, again, you do a nice quick stir. Make sure everything is all mixed together well. Is everybody ready for the next step so we can get it in the cocktail? Or do I need to slow down and give you more random tequila facts? Okay. So there are 4 regions in Mexico where you can grow tequila, where you can make tequila. Jalisco, the state of Jalisco, is where 99.95% of tequila is made. And it can be made in the entire state of Jalisco. That's where the city of Tequila is. That's where most of the fields are. And then there are 3 other states where there are just small little regions or counties which you can grow and make tequila. But the majority, any tequila that you mostly know, all comes from Jalisco and either the lowlands or the highlands. There's an active volcano in Tequila too, which is really cool. So really at any time it could explode. Let me see if I can try some headphones that maybe will help a little bit more. Hang on 1 second.
She's just gonna find some headphones potentially and see if that will help with the in and out. So give us 1 minute and see so if we can get it, so we can hear it a little better.
All right, let's see if headphones will make it better. Let me get them untangled. Okay, how about now? Is that better for everybody?
Are they fully plugged in?
What?
Are they fully plugged in? Because it sounds like we can still hear you on the computer.
I've got them totally plugged in. How about now? No?
Yeah, it's still kind of in and out. So I think just stay as close to the camera as possible, just because it's like right there is perfect. usually
Okay.
to keep you, yeah,
So
right
here's
there.
my face. All right. So are we good, or do we feel like we're caught up and ready for the next step? Everybody? All right. So we've got everything mixed in here. Then the next step is taking your cup, and I am using the Centenario cup, or the Cantarito cup. It's kind of the traditional clay cup that they use in Mexico. If you have them, great. If not, use a highball glass, a pint glass, whatever you want, totally fine. What I do next is I have tahini that we rim the glass with. So I have a little tahini right here. Dip it in some lime juice. Put it in the tahini. Ta-da! Beautiful and ready to go. Then I add my ice to my cup, which is here. And then I'm going to add the cocktail. Nice and refreshing. And then if you feel like garnishing it because you want to be fancy for yourself or for all of your guests, I typically take a slice of lime, lemon, and grapefruit. Very pretty. And that's your Cantarita. You can use a straw if you have all your fruit in there because it's really hard to get your mouth around everything, or the tahini really adds a nice kind of spicy fun kick. Tahini is a Mexican salt. It's got some chili powder, some lime powder, bunch of different kind of cumin and stuff like that. A lot of times if you go to Mexico, they put it on some fruits. Any Mexican restaurants, if they have spicy margaritas, they kind of use it just kind of as an added enhancement or as an option is from salt or sugar. And it looks like I have my little tahini rimmer out. So it kind of looks like little Mexican flag. Kind of fun like that. So, all right. Has everyone tried the cocktail? Salud. What do you think? Do you like it? Can you imagine sitting out on a patio with an umbrella, some tacos, maybe some mariachi music? So kind of what I always think this is and kind of how I describe it is as a Mexican or as like a Paloma punch. So you've got the grapefruit, the squirt, the lime juice, the lemon juice, not the lemon juice, the orange juice, just something fun, different, as opposed to a margarita, because margaritas, everyone, you can make them, they've got great recipes, everyone has kind of their own spin on it, but this is something different and something fun to kind of try a different twist, and making it as a fun batch is something fun. Just something kind of fun and different to do. Any questions or anything? Anything about? No? Okay. Do you want to move on to the next cocktail? See what you think of that one? Yes, the big batch will still be good tomorrow if you don't put in the squirt. And then if you want to have it on a Friday afternoon, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you don't, if you're going to pre-make it, don't add the squirt until you're ready to serve it. So, little history about, or little fun facts about tequila is that tequila has started, it comes from the agave plant. And the agave plant is it looks like a cactus, but it's actually part of the lily family. And in order to have the agave ready to harvest to make tequila, it takes an average of 7 to 10 years for the agave to harvest, to grow full enough, to be mature enough to harvest. Once they have it grown and it's larger, it's at its peak, then they take it and they cut it down to the piña. So when you see the agave first, it looks like a huge cactus. That's me as the agave plant. And then we have the humidors, which have these really cool tools called the koa, which is like a flat circular kind of like a machete. And they take that whole plant down and they shave it down until like it's like a pineapple. So that's called the pina. Then they take that pina, and they take it into the ovens. We slow roast our tequila or our pinas for 24 hours, and then we shred them, add water to them, add a yeast, ferment them, and then distill them. And that's called the Blanco. When it's been distilled, we distill it twice. We have the Blanco, that goes directly into the bottle. The next step is a reposado. The reposado is where the color starts to come in. So we take that Blanco tequila that we've made and we put it into a used bourbon barrel. We use Ezra Brooks or Rebel Yell because those are some of our bourbons that we own. We take those for reposado. It rests anywhere between 2 months all the way up to 1 year. And that's resting in there. That's where that color comes in. It comes in from the oak and it makes it softer. There's a little bit of caramel notes, but you still have that agave flavor in there. After that, you have the añejo, and that's aged anywhere between 1 year and 3 years in that bourbon barrel. So the colors are going to get darker. The flavors, those kind of caramel notes, things like that are going to come in and be better. Not better, just different, kind of give it more notes. For people who like bourbon, añejos are a great tequila. That's always a sipping tequila that people like to do. Any bourbon cocktail that you ever make goes really, really well with añejo tequila. So I make tequila old fashions, I make tequila Sazeracs, I make tequila Manhattans, all of that fun stuff. Kind of something different. I also love Bloody Maria. So using, instead of vodka, I use the Blanco tequila. So that's some kind of fun information about there. And there's 2 types of tequila too. You've got Exotico, which is 100% blue agave. And then there's what's called a mixto. And a mixto uses 51% blue agave, 49% alcohol, made neutral grain spirit. So it can be made from corn syrup, it can be made from cane sugar, kind of just depends. And those are your traditional tequilas like Sauza Gold, like Cuervo Gold. Not good or bad or different. I prefer 100% agave because I don't like those added sugars, but that's kind of the main difference. So, all right, do you guys want to move on to the next cocktail? Tequilas can be aged in sherry barrels or other non-bourbon barrels. Yes, they absolutely can. We have on our El Mayor line, we have a reposado that was done in Spanish Chardonnay casks. And then we have our El Mayor that's coming out this fall that'll be finished in rum casks. So they can be finished in a lot of other things. Bourbon tends to be the majority for the masses because of bourbon laws. You can only use the barrels once, so they can send them down here and get a few more uses out of them. But those like the sherry casks, the rum casks, the Chardonnay casks, give it kind of a little bit of different. Wine casks, those barrels tend to use a better wood, so they just have some different, more dill and more baking spice kind of notes in there. That's where we're at. So we'll move on to our other cocktail. I'm going to step just this way, and I'm back getting my new my new utensils for this next cocktail. So this cocktail is a muddled cocktail, which is really kind of fun. You can't see it as much, but I think they look really nice, really pretty, kind of give it a fun, I like kind of seeing the different colors and all that stuff. So we are going, for the next drink, we're going to use our tequila. I'm using the reposado because that's what this calls for, and I have both at home, so I can use them both. But if you have Blanco, you can use that. So we're going to go with the tequila, and then we're going to move. Then we have blackberries, and then we have sage, sugar cubes, or just regular sugar. You're going to use grapefruit juice. You're going to use a cocktail shaker and a pint glass that goes on top of it, and some ice. It's a pretty simple cocktail. Oh, and a muddler, sorry. The other thing you could use if you want, if you don't like the seeds and all those muddled fruits and things like that when you're finishing the cocktail, then you could have a strainer that can strain those out. That way you don't have those seeds. Sometimes seeds bother people and all that stuff. So it's totally up to you. So we're going to start And I'm going to put 3 blackberries in. If they're smaller, I might do 4 or 5. It's not going to overpower the tequila. It'll give it just nice color. I'm throwing my blackberries in. And then you need 2 sage leaves. I'm throwing those in here. You can rip them up beforehand if you'd like, but you don't have to. Then we're going on to do sugar cubes. If you got sugar cubes, great. Apparently those are in high demand and I couldn't find them at the 3 stores I went to. So I'm going to use just regular sugar. And a sugar cube is the equivalent of a teaspoon. So you can just throw 2 teaspoons in there of sugar. And then you're going to take your muddler. Here we go. And if you have any aggressions or any frustrations from the day, this is where you kind of get it out. So you're going to just squish everything around. What you're doing is you're breaking up those fruits and you're breaking up those leaves and kind of macerating everything. You're releasing the essential oils of the sage in with the blackberries and all that fun stuff. So when you've got a nice looking kind of paste, then you're ready to do, again, like I said before, is you always want to do your non-alcoholic ingredients first. That way, if you mess up, you don't have to throw away your tequila and start over. So then once you've muddled everything up, take your muddler, set it to the side. Then we go to your jigger, and we're going with 1 ounce of grapefruit juice. You dump all that in. Those acids in the grapefruit juice will help the sugar dissolve. Okay, so the steps again. We're going to take your blackberries, and you're going to muddle them, and your sage, and your sugar. Put all 3 of those ingredients in together, muddle them up. That just means squish them up till you're ready. Then you're going to take your 1 ounce of grapefruit juice and add it to your cocktail shaker. From there, you're going to take your tequila and you're going to do 2 ounces of tequila. Dump it all in there. All right. That's the side. And again, here's where the fun part comes in. Then you're going to add your ice because we're going to shake this nice and fun. And now when you do your shaking of your cocktail, you want to shake it really hard and really fast. If you're shaking it just kind of soft, you're not doing what the shaking is, what it's meant for, what it's designed for. You want to shake the cocktail because you are adding air and you're mixing everything together. So I have my shaker. I use my pint glass. I put it on really, really hard. If you have the other cocktail shakers at home, totally fine. Make sure you've got, if you're doing this way, you have a really good seal, and then you shake. Really, really hard because you're moving everything around, you're adding in air, you're getting everything mixed. Then you release it. If you want to strain your cocktail, this is the time. Then you put fresh ice into a cup and you get your strainer and you set it on top and you would strain through. You could also, if you do that and take it out, you could turn this into like a martini. Otherwise, you can take your same shaken cocktail, pour it into your glass. It only makes it much smaller than the pint glass, which is okay. And then you put your garnish on it. My garnish fell in. And then you're good to go. This is something you could rim also. If you wanted to rim your glass, you could use sugar. It would kind of be fun. I wouldn't do salt because it's already sweet. It's still a little bit tart in there with the blackberries and the sage. So salt wouldn't make sense, but if you want to, you could add in some sugar and something like that. If you wanted, you could also top it with some like sparkling water. I love everything bubbly, so that would be something fun to make it so you drink it more slowly or you're not drinking as many cocktails, but it's kind of whatever your preference is. That's kind of one of the great things about tequila. Oh, Patty, you're shaking hard. Look at you. You got it. This is how bartenders, when you see them, they always have such big guns. It's because they have to shake them so hard. all day long, so many cocktails. What I like about tequila, it's extremely versatile, and with the Blanco, I use tequila, and I can, and I have forever, in place of any white spirit. So instead of vodka, instead of gin, instead of even rum, if you wanted, you could do a mojito with vodka, with tequila. You can do tequila tonic is a really fun kind of light and easy. I drink tequila and soda with a squeeze of lime a lot of times, just because I drink so many margaritas that sometimes I just want to not not have as much of the sugar. But that's kind of some of the fun different ways you can do that. Has everybody got through that cocktail? And it's a nice, pretty, dark black color, black purple from the blackberries. Sometimes, depending on your blackberries, they can be kind of tart, and that way you might want to add the sweetener in. You could add the sugar around there. If you don't have grapefruit juice, you could use lime juice, limeade, a little bit of lime juice and agave nectar, or lime juice and some simple syrup. If you don't have the grapefruit juice, it would still be really good. It would just be more on the lines of like a margarita, as opposed to the grapefruit juice, but I think it would taste really good as well. I've done a lot of blackberry margaritas too. So this is just a blackberry sage smash. So smash just means basically smashing it up and then adding in some alcohol there. Ooh, raspberry and mint, that would be super good. I would like that. That's fun. Oh, look at, yes. I love it. Yeah, and that's kind of the fun thing, is you can kind of, especially if people have gardens where they're growing fruits and stuff like that, strawberries and mint would be good. Strawberries and jalapeno would be a really fun way to do this too. I'm allergic to strawberries, so I don't ever get to have those, but those are kind of some fun. Some peach in the end of the fall, like some peaches, and mint is also another. I've had a couple of restaurants in the past do stuff like that. So those are just some of the fun cocktails that we have that you can do with tequila. Try to shake it up and make it not just a traditional margarita, because again, those are great and I love them. I drink them several times a week, but here's some fun ways, some easy ways that you're not having to, buy bitters and, Eye of Newt and all that stuff you have pretty regularly, stuff you have at home. You could do just a traditional Paloma if you wanted to, and taking out the orange juice and the lime juice, or making it a sparkle. Ooh, mint and Thai basil, that would be super fun too. Look, you guys are all so fancy. I love it. Been home quarantining and coming up with some great ideas. Yeah, just some really fun and easy cocktails. That's what I always try to do, is do things that are approachable, that are easy, that you can do at home. Because I have people who I work with, accounts, and work with people who do amazing, very 12-step cocktails, which are great, but I'm not going to make them at home, and I can't go see them right now, some of them. So just fun summertime stuff and fun quarantine stuff that are pretty readily available, besides apparently sugar cubes. Does anybody have any questions or any thoughts or anything? Yes, no, maybe? So one of the cool things about Exotico, I can tell you, and then you guys let me know when you're tired of hearing me talk, or if you can't hear me talk well, is our distillery is in the downtown heart of Guadalajara, which is really cool. It's about an hour away from our fields, but you'll be driving down the street. There'll be families walking their kids to school, and then this big, huge gate opens up right into our distillery with the hacienda. And it's working. It's 24 hours working a day. It's an open fermentation, which is really cool too, so you can see all of that. And we have our own, like I said before, our own proprietary yeast that we use, which a lot of companies don't. They just use a regular yeast. So the difference between highlands and lowlands, there are, because it's kind of the altitude. We are in the lowlands, the highlands of the lowlands. So it's kind of altitude, and it gets really kind of confusing. All right, I'll stay close again. It's altitude and how close you are to the sea and the different types of soil. So in the lowlands, we have the volcanic soil and we have the really white gravelly soil and all of that stuff. So it's much in the clay soil. And in the highlands, they have a lot more of the more compact clay soil. So it's just kind of different how the agaves have to work. And then sometimes it's funny because like I said, we're in the highlands of the lowlands, which is actually higher altitude than the highlands are. So we are on like a lot of rocky hills, and a lot of the highlands are mostly flat. So that's kind of some of the difference. And it just kind of depends. Most of everyone's fields are right next to each other. Like we have fields that back up to Don Julio, to Cuervo, to Espolón. So the agaves are all in pretty much the same environment, especially a lot of the main companies. But it kind of, some of the things that we pride ourselves on is how you take care of your plants, how we take care of our plants compared to how other companies take care of our plants. Our Rodolfo loves the fields. It's his favorite place to be. And he is very busy and very successful in Mexico, but he still goes out every single Saturday to the fields because he loves it. So that's kind of, it's something that tequila's got people have a huge passion for, which is great. You see it in there because they are so labor intensive. With a lot of the other companies, with bourbons, with vodkas, things that I also sell too, you can grow more wheat pretty quickly. You can grow more corn pretty quickly and produce more. But with the agave, like I said, it takes 7 to 10 years sometimes for the plant to be ready. So you're 7 to 10 years before you can even start getting it in to a block, to a here. So that's in all of your land, not including your labor and all of that stuff. And then if you add in your reposado, we're about, with Exotico, we're 6 months that we rest it for. So then you add on another 6 months with our añejo that we don't have in Exotico, but we have in our other line, El Mayor. About 18 months is what we rested. So you're at like 10, 12 years before you can see any return on it. So it's very labor intensive, very slow process to kind of see. So when you see prices kind of go up or you see there being shortages, it's because it's not something you can just plant and get back in, you know. Yeah, oh, I have tons of pictures with showing an agave plant, and I can show you how I've cut the piña plants and all of that fun stuff. It's great. I just thought it would be easier than showing you. I have a 42-page slide that I could, PowerPoint I could show you, but I figured I would just show you cocktails and all of that stuff as opposed to trying to be as technologically savvy as apparently I'm not with my computer. It's a newer computer, and I don't know if maybe our if the camera on it is not, or the microphone isn't as good. But yeah, the piñas are, it's super fun and it's very, very labor intensive. And the other thing with the men who cut the piñas, they're called humidors. And then you can't just say, I decide to be a humidor. It's something that's passed down. Like, so if you're a humidor, your dad is a humidor, and your grandpa and your uncle, it's something like that. There's like no school, you just kind of get it passed down. So how many leaves you're supposed to use? 2 if they're, and 2 leaves is what I used. You could use, if they're small, you could use like 3 or 4, but 2 leaves. And then I use an additional one just for my garnish to make it pretty. Something else you could do is like sugar your sage leaf. So you kind of dip it in some juice, some like lime juice, rub it in some sugar, and then let it dry, crystallize it. So the recipe said 8 sugar cubes or leaves. Oh, 8 sage leaves. It did. You are correct. Must have been, I don't know. Well, then your cocktail is going to be a little bit sagey. But hopefully, I don't know. I apologize about that. So, so sagey, yeah. Well, what you could do is add in a few more blackberries, a little tequila, and just kind of make a larger cocktail. I'm drinking the desert. I bet you are out there. So I think both cocktails are really good. The second cocktail, the blackberry one, is fun, and the sage does kind of give it a nice earthy tone. makes me think of like camping and being out in the I don't know, out in the desert or out in camping with a big campfire and stuff like that. So, any other questions or anything? Yvette?
If we don't have any more questions, then we can go ahead and just close it up. But feel free to ask any more last minute questions real quick if you'd like.
Yep, Amanda and Marianne, you guys are Amanda, you're not gonna have any evil spirits, and you can just walk through your room and through your house and blow out the sage yourself. You don't even have to sage. Thank you guys very much. I really appreciate your time, and hopefully you enjoyed the cocktails and maybe learned a little bit of something fun. Oh, Yellowstone season 3 comes out on Sunday, and I'm very excited about that. You have no idea, and you will look for a little commercial for another bourbon that's gonna possibly be during that. It'll be kind of exciting too. So yeah, I'm very excited for Yellowstone season 3.
Perfect.
Right.
Well, thank you so much, Delia. We really appreciate it. And I'll just close it up real quick and show you my screen one more time. There we go. Just thank you so much for being a part of this great series. I know there were so many of you that participated in this since June. So, I mean, since May. So we really appreciate you guys being here and sticking with us through all of these different fun ones. Look for more virtual things coming out soon, and we hope to see you guys back here very soon. And thank you so much to Davidson and Delia with Exotico. Have a great rest of your night, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.